Hi everyone, how are you doing today? Hey, listen, I started a videos. I did a couple of videos on Steve Fambro. He was talking on a podcast called Mind Blowers, and I already did two of them. I'm just going to go ahead and give you the rest of what he did on that Mind Blowers podcast. And if you want the whole thing, you could hit the link down below, which will actually take you to it. But let's go ahead and check this out. This is the rest of it is kind of long, so I'm just going to go ahead and play that and let you get into it. So first of all, let's get into my channel, and then we'll go ahead and play the video for you. All right, welcome back to my channel, and we welcome everybody for joining Free Power. So Steve Fambro, he has some very interesting words, so we're going to check this out as far as what the factories in the future are going to look like, and we'll discuss it after it's over with.
But it's very interesting what you say because it ties into one of the topics we've talked quite a lot on in this podcast, which is about the future of Europe doesn't look that good to us. I mean, in many ways, we kind of we missed the tech boom, and now it seems we're missing the AI boom. Maybe it's not so obvious when you live in the States, but I mean, you guys have OpenAI, you have Google doing Gemini, you have Meta leading in that space as well. And we don't have a lot in Europe. And it seems to be a bit the same. You are actually describing here in the car industry, Europe being a slow mover. And one of our concerns is actually that Europe will turn into this museum that people will visit because it's beautiful, but in terms of power and strategic dominance, it's completely left up to the US and China. And it seems like it's a little bit the same picture you're painting when you talk about the car market.
That's an interesting observation. I know there are some other challenges, or you might not think of them as challenges, but features of the European economic system. You have a very robust social net or welfare net, to make sure people don't fall through the cracks and no one's living on the street, or if they are, it's by their own will, and Europe is very good at making sure that, not every country, I should say, but I mean, primarily the Western, the Germanic and Scandinavian countries, very good at having a common level for everyone. But one of the challenges, especially as technology changes so quickly, the needs change. And if a company can't adapt its workforce for the needs, either by scaling up or unfortunately scaling down, then that becomes another reason why they can't compete. For example, with one of the American executives I talked with about the union involvement, there's little incentive to improve processes that reduce man hours necessary to build a car, because they still are on the hook to have so many union employees for that stage of assembly. So if they improve the speed of the robot and they need 9 people instead of 10 people, they still have to keep that 10th person. They can't lay them off. That makes that company uncompetitive compared to China. And I know in Italy, it's very similar. I imagine in Denmark and Germany, there's probably similar rules. But it's in Italy especially, it's virtually impossible to fire someone from a large company. So you have a product line that's not selling, or you either make some changes that improve it so that you need fewer people. It's not clear to me that you can realize those gains in European countries. So I would say that's you have to have employee flexibility. One of the reasons we have places like Silicon Valley in the United States, it's incredibly, maybe it's not the best place to live permanently. Maybe it's very high stress if you're in that startup world. But you've got great universities, pretty good weather, and you've got a highly mobile workforce. People can leave and go from one job to another if it's better for them, or companies can let people go if they have to cut their costs. And so there's extreme mobility, probably the highest mobility I've seen around the world. You can bring people on or let people go very quickly. And I think that's necessary to be competitive. So I think that's a cultural and legal element that the European countries have to consider moving forward, is how do they have that same employee mobility so that the companies can realize gains and are not saddled with sort of future costs they can't get rid of.
So how do you see robotics play in the car industry in the future? I mean, Elon Musk, for example, I think he predicts 1 billion robots in the world by 2040. His predictions does change a little bit, I think, from interview to interview, but it sounds pretty dramatic, what he's forecasting. Do you think that will kind of level the playing field, so it doesn't matter that there are cheaper wages in China than in the US, for example?
Well, I have two thoughts about it. I mean, it's already happening in China. A lot of these modern automotive factories have radically fewer people. They're full of mostly robots. So they already in China are automating people out of jobs, more so than here in the US. I would say most of the new automotive plants in China are incredibly roboticized with far fewer people than their European or American counterpart. In the United States, we also have labor issues. We bring in guest workers to pick our crops and do agriculture and things like that. This is a problem that we've had since commercial agriculture. I mean, I was a farmer before I started Aptera. And one of the oldest books on agriculture, De Re Rustica, written by Columella 2,000 years ago, basically you read that book and then you look at modern agriculture today. It's very labor intensive, and neither of them 2,000 years ago or even today can operate without what is essentially almost like an enslaved class, which is really, awful way of thinking about it. But that's one area where automation, you might say, would reduce the need for that. And they're doing all kinds of automation things in agriculture. Every day they're bringing out new technologies, new products. In the case of guest workers, it means, well, we don't need as many guest workers. But what about in the case of citizens when, we need fewer of them? So what's the government's job to develop the economy, make the economy robust so that there's always a supply of capital to go and do things new and create new ideas? I learned something I didn't really, one of my colleagues pointed out to me about the stock market in America. We have this 401, we call the 401k investment that people make from their paycheck. And this money is pulled out from every paycheck, every other week from just about every American working, and it goes into the stock market. And so you have this market that has a continual input of cash to create momentum and to move money into new ideas and products and services. And maybe it's something as simple as changing how pensions or monies are collected, let's say in European countries, and so they can go into the stock market more readily. And so that you're going to have the economic ability, the environment, so that people want to create new jobs. Right now, I'm reading and hearing from a lot of European entrepreneurs that they don't want to create a new company in Germany. It's too difficult. It's too difficult to hire people, the regulations, et cetera. So if you want to adapt to a rapidly changing environment, you have to have a framework of an economy that lets people do that, lets entrepreneurs do that. So I would say it's very much is a legal, cultural issue still.
But do you think that the American car industry will be automated at the same pace as we've seen in China? I mean, so if Elon Musk is correct and we'll see a billion robots by 2040, do you think there will even be humans involved in building the cars by then?
I don't think it will be that that level of automation with union companies. I think union-run companies, I think they will continue, as they have, to resist automation because, and they're, now put on their hat, I will argue for their position. Their position is more automation means less union jobs. And if these people aren't working union jobs, then what are they going to be doing? You know, everyone can't learn to code. And so I think, again, the government has a responsibility to make sure they don't have a responsibility to create the job, but they need to make sure that a framework, a system, an economy exists so that capital and people can flow freely. But so I think in startup car companies that aren't yet captured by the unions, I think you'll see as much automation as you could get. But with our factory that has been designed, we haven't built yet in Italy, but the body assembly plant, it's incredibly highly automated. The body panels literally come in one side of the building and an assembled vehicle comes out the other with very little human intervention. And so you don't have quality issues. You have a part that's installed the same way tens of thousands of times. You don't have someone who's angry and they didn't get the raise they wanted, so now they're just going to make that piece fit because they're unhappy with their job, you know? Because in the end of the day, you're dealing with human beings, and humans have all kinds of needs. And it's not clear to me how you continue to do assembly using a person that is smart, a person that's intelligent and ambitious, and forcing them to do the same repetitive task over and over again. I think we have to think about how do we keep increasingly intelligent humans engaged in their work. So maybe from that perspective, you know, automation is a big part of that, right? Because it takes those repetitive tasks away. But I don't think we'll see the same adoption in union companies because I think they will resist it.
I don't know how you feel about what he said. A lot of it, there's some truth in it. You know, there's going to be a lot of pro-human agencies out there that's going to want the humans to continue to work and get their pay. And there's going to be a lot of pro-robot agencies out there that want the robots to go ahead and start producing a lot of the hard labor. I guess we'll just have to wait and see exactly what happens. But I think what he says is very plausible, and that especially in the United States, there's going to be a lot of pro-human with unions going on, and in Europe, the same thing. In China, we know that that's mostly run by the government, so the people basically really has no say-so, and looks like the government, I mean, they have already taken over, so no doubt they're going to let the robots take care of everything. But, you know, that's just my thought. How do you feel about what he says? You agree, disagree? I mean, there's just so many moving factors as far as what's going to happen in the future. But we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, I'm just going to end it right there. I'll give a shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys very much, and everybody for joining Free Power. I truly appreciate all that you do. Thank you so much for checking this out. And go ahead and put your opinion down as far as how you feel about what Steve Fambro said. I mean, a lot of it makes sense to me. But if you're new here, hit the like, ring the bell, subscribe. You'll catch all my Aptera videos when they come out. I just love how he already brought out that most of Aptera's factories are pretty much already automated. So trending would suggest that everything would go in that direction. You enjoy the rest of your day. You take care, and we will catch you in the next video. All right. Adios.